शहर में गुजरे यादों के लम्हे.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4. My name is Vinay Bharadwaj. In this segment, I'm very excited to talk to Sharanjeet, a practicing lawyer for 25 years and director of a law firm, Advox. As always, I'll be talking about a topic that is very pertinent and need of the hour. Sharanjeet, welcome to Salaam
Hello.
Namaste.
Hi.
Again, happy to have you
Yes.
back again on the show.
Happy to be back.
Today's topic that I want to talk to you about is many people. We read it in newspapers. There are things that happen to people that we know is about power of attorney and protection of asset when somebody passes away.
Okay.
What I want to understand from you first is what is the definition of protection of asset?
Okay, so protection of assets can mean different things to different people in different walks of life. If you're talking about people who want to tie the knot and settle down, for them protection of assets before marriage means prenuptial agreements.
Right.
And for couples who are in a marriage and they actually have amassed properties and assets, for them protection of assets can mean a few things: a postnuptial agreement, creating trusts in favor of the children, or just sorting out their assets, and drafting of their wills, executing lasting power of attorneys. What is that actually? So that's where you have a form, which is in a form now, right? Yeah, where you appoint someone you trust to be the one in charge of your affairs, in your assets, your property, your wealth, your well-being, in the event you're incapable of handling them. So it's like a living will kind of thing. So it's a form. Of course, some people opt to do it in more detailed way, and that's beyond just a standard form and a standard procedure. So that's the lasting power of attorney for you. But protection of assets, like I've said, it means different things for different walks of life and different financial circumstances.
Right. Is it, I always thought that power of attorney, protection of asset needs to be done when there is enormous amount of wealth?
Not necessarily. The very common misconception is that protection of assets is for those who have a high net worth, who are the rich, but actually not. It just means what it means: protection of your assets. Your asset can be anything, right?
One house, 10 houses,
10 houses. Yes, one valuable painting, 20 branded watches, collector's items. Yeah, so protection of assets, it's a simple meaning to it. So that's yes, but I would say that it is more thought of by those who have got more assets at stake and things like that. But it's becoming very common for many as society becomes more affluent. Younger people amassing pre-marital assets, getting married at a later age. After a bitter divorce, so they just don't want to go through part 2 again when they meet someone, so they want to sort out their financials. So that's where you talk about prenuptial agreements, and then you have, like I mentioned, when after marriage is postnuptial agreements. But yes, many of them then also think about drafting a will.
Right.
Yeah, because in a way, when you have a will, you are kind of protecting your assets as well, because you don't want your assets to fall into the hands of someone, or just whom you don't wish to have them. So you're protecting it in that way. Yeah.
So is it right to say that if you have a will, that means you've kind of told exactly what will happen to your assets post you not being there?
Yes.
Power of attorney is something that you assign a person to deal with your assets.
Yes. So the lasting power of attorney here, is basically something that you appoint someone, a donee, to take care of everything about you, including your health and all that, because you are not capable. Maybe you're, in dementia, or you just bedridden and you're not able to do things, going to coma. Okay, that's the lasting power of attorney. However, when you just use the word power of attorney, that doesn't really protect assets. That's just a power for you to give it to someone to manage it. So the true thing to do is the lasting power of attorney. That's very important. Because what happens is, if you don't have a lasting power of attorney, not all is lost, but your family members will have to then make an application in court, to step into your shoes and to deal. So you're actually protecting yourself, protecting everybody through that whole system. Yeah.
That was my question, that if somebody dies accidentally, who do not have a lasting power of attorney, or not made a will, what happens?
Okay, so what you were trying to say is, therefore, if someone dies without a will, it's called dying intestate. Okay, so you don't have a will, you die intestate, so what happens to your assets? There's the Intestate Succession Act in Singapore, so go according to that. There are different categories. It depends on whether you have children, you're married, you're not married, then who it goes to, you're married but no children. So it's all set out there. Of course, if you want to basically know whether or not you should do a will or you should not, again, you have to consult a lawyer.
Right.
Okay, and just understand how the intestate laws work. So sometimes the intestate laws will be maybe exactly what you intend how you intend to distribute your assets after your death, after your demise. So then fine, then that perhaps works for you, but not always. It's always good to have a will. It's prudent, and I advocate that.
Right.
Yeah.
So as a common man, maybe I have a condo, a car, and some bank balance. And in uncertain times, it's always better that I have a lasting power of attorney or a will.
Yes, it is. It certainly is important, because, like I said, how you hold on to an asset jointly with another, or is it in your sole name? And what's very important is, for some people, they want to not only put in a will how their assets are going to be distributed, but they may have some terms and conditions before it's inherited by a certain person. They may want to give it away to charity, for charitable causes. So, it's important to have that.
Interesting. And in Singapore, if a father dies, accidentally, and if
intestate, yes,
and the wealth is divided, right? Daughter and son.
Okay, there's no gender bias. Basically, all children, if you die intestate, the children will get equal shares, but whether or not what they get, and it also depends on whether the mother is still alive, So
there are a lot of factors.
There are a lot of
case-to-case
basis, but surely, I think I hear where you're getting at as to whether there are any laws in the civil system where daughters may not get anything, or daughters may get much more than the sons, not in the civil system.
That's lovely. I think that's where equality is all about, right? Children are children.
Children are children. Yes.
And this was very helpful, because I always used to think, my misconception also is because of the myths that is around, that it's for the rich.
Yes.
You don't need to write a will, you don't need to have a lasting power of attorney.
No, you need.
That's something that I learned today, and I'm sure my viewers, it's valuable information as well. Lovely talking to you and having on the show, Sharanjeet.
No problem. Thank you again.
So what we learned is the lasting power of attorney, protection of assets, prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements. These are the things that we have seen or read. It is so important for us to be aware of it and execute it in our lives, so that any uncertain condition, these are the things that's going to help us, not just us, but also our family members. That's what we learned from Sharanjeet today. That's it in this segment. You go take a short break. I'm going to be right back. My name is Vinay Bharadwaj, and you are watching Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4. Welcome back. You're watching Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4. In this segment, I have Dr. Anis, who is a thoracic surgeon, back on the show to talk about what are the other things as a thoracic surgeon that he does? Dr. Anis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
Happy to have you again.
Yes.
So in this episode, Dr. Anis, I want to talk to you about, you're the only thoracic robotic surgeon in Singapore. But as a thoracic surgeon, what are the other things that you treat?
We have a wide variety of organs in the chest. So that is why our specialty is called cardiothoracic surgery. It's a twin specialty. I deal mostly with the thoracic surgical part of it, while my cardiac surgical colleagues deal with the heart.
Right.
So in simple terms, I deal with everything in the chest except the heart. There will be some conditions which are specific, what affects your daily life, but you may feel that it is not in my specialty. The most common one is called hyperhidrosis. Technically, in the common man's terms, called sweaty palms.
What is the reason for that?
We live in a very hot climate and most of us sweat. Why do we sweat? Because we try to keep our body cool. Some people sweat more than the others.
Yeah.
And most of us realize that you sweat mostly in the palms, in your axilla, and your feet. This is the body's normal mechanism of venting the heat out.
Right.
And why some people sweat more than others? Because these people have a raised core body temperature, and it's the body's way of coping with that.
And is there a barometer to say this is too much and there is a reason, then you have to go for a medical treatment?
It is more a social and a psychological problem, which in an Asian society is very, for want of a better word, not understood well.
Right.
People in the West are very open about what they want and how things which they can't live with, but we are a bit introverted and shy, and I wouldn't like to express to my friend to say I have sweaty palms. I can't shake hands with you. So usually I find patients in two groups. One, the very young, one who are in their career, and this condition starts to affect their careers.
Right. When you walk into a meeting, you don't want to shake hands.
Absolutely. So you have marketing executives who are trying to climb up the ladder. It starts to affect their performances and they feel shy about it, or they are socially disturbed. The most common ones is the younger age group. When they come, they are really troubled.
Right. It affects their confidence.
Yep. So I have this interesting patient who I had. This girl, very brilliant, very young, in her early teens. And she was so obsessed with music. And she had a failure at the piano, which nearly drove her to suicide.
Oh my God.
So the mother brought her over. And it was just a matter of her having sweaty palms and her keys were going wrong. And then she had treatment, and then after that, she's like any normal person.
So it's curable. There is treatment to it.
It is.
Okay, that's wonderful. And another thing that people usually have is, if at all they have a fall, they have an accident, rib fractures is something that we keep reading about and talking about, and trauma post that. So what can be done for that?
As a thoracic surgeon, you understand that the covering of the chest is made up of our ribs. They protect your lungs, which are spongy organs, from external trauma. And rib fractures are very common. You can trip and fall and cause a rib fracture. You can be run over by a bus and still cause a rib fracture. So there are many ways to define rib fractures. In the daily life, when you have a fall, you can have a rib fracture, you can have pain, and you may leave it unnoticed, and the body will heal by itself.
Right.
So most of us in our daily lives, it is quite possible that you can have a rib fracture and it will heal by itself.
And we won't even know?
You may not know. You will be just realizing that it's a pain due to a fall and you may ignore it.
Right.
Because our ribs are quite soft and pliable, so they heal well. They have very good blood supply. But when you have fractures which affect more than 2 to 3 ribs, then you will realize that you have a dysfunction of that part of the chest wall. And when that part of the chest wall is not moving because of pain, then you realize that you need treatment and you need help.
What kind of treatments are available for rib fracture?
So not every rib fracture needs to be operated or treated. The most common method of treating a rib fracture is to rest the area, give good analgesics, meaning pain control, and then exercise using some spirometer, and it should get well. Usually we will do a scan to determine how many fractures are there. If there are 3 or more fractures, then we look at them with a bit of a suspicious eye. We have statistics to show that is usually associated with some amount of lung injury inside as well.
Internal injury.
Absolutely. And if that is left untreated, it can be dangerous. So if you have a fall and if you think you have pain which is persistent, you should consider consulting a specialist, at least to get one scan to rule out no further damage.
And one last thing that I want to ask you with regards to lungs is that asthma, people usually have a lot of issues with that. It's a very chronic thing where people use sprays and pumps and stuff like that, right? So how bad can it go if somebody is suffering from asthma?
The treatment of asthma is done by my medical colleagues, the respiratory physicians. It is a disease which is associated most commonly with things like allergy, things like pollen or spores in the air, which triggers a reaction, which causes a spasm of your breathing bronchioles, and you get this wheezing sound. So asthma is defined by the wheezing sound. So that's why you are called an asthmatic. Okay. It is quite common in some form or the other in everybody's life during their young age or during their middle or older ages. Most of them you can get by without doing much. But there is a certain set of people, percentage, who require treatment. It is associated with a medical emergency, which is called status asthmaticus, where the spasm is so bad that you are not able to breathe.
Right.
And your saturations go down, requires medical emergency treatment. So the best way to treat asthma is to prevent from having it. So know your triggers, where your allergens are, and then prevent them. Or if you know that you are going to a trigger area, you should have consulted your own doctor and you should carry your medicine with you.
Right. Wonderful. Thanks, Dr. Anis, for talking about various aspects of lung health, because we always think about lung cancer, which is one of the most common things that we go through. Today, I learned a lot about sweaty palm. How does it affect one's confidence, and how important it is to get treated if it is affecting your daily life, and also rib fracture and the post-trauma and stuff. Thank you so much for coming on Salaam Namaste Singapore.
Thank you very much for having me again.
What we learned in this segment is about sweaty palms. How can it be treated if it is affecting your daily life? We spoke about rib fracture, the post-trauma of it, and respiratory health. So Dr. Anis is the only robotic thoracic surgeon in Singapore. If you want to reach out to him, his contact details are here below. This is Vinay Bharadwaj. You're watching Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4. Don't go anywhere, because I'm going to take a short break and come back. Welcome back. You're watching Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4. In this segment, I will be giving you some really interesting information about coding, especially for the kids. And for that, I have Seema, who's the Managing Director of Coding Giants with me. Welcome to Salaam Namaste Singapore, Seema.
Hello.
Coding Giants. What is the name Coding Giants? What do you guys do? I'm very, very curious.
Coding Giants is obviously, you can, the name suggests it is a coding school. It's an international coding school founded in Poland, and it's the largest international coding school headquartered in Europe. We have 120 facilities around the world, including Spain, Slovakia, Mexico, Chile, Australia, and of course we are now starting at Singapore as well. Yeah.
Interesting. And what do you guys do in Coding Giant?
We do provide programming and coding classes to children aged between 7 to 19 years. Those includes like for beginners like Scratch, Minecraft, programming at higher level Python. These days very, very popular. Yeah. Roblox. People are crazy. I mean, children are very crazy about Roblox. C#, which is more advanced programming language for professional levels, and cybersecurity, hacking. So there are many more courses available for students.
When we talk about kids, right, usually the perception is they're too young, they have so much to learn in school. Why do I need to send to coding? How does this actually help kids?
It's been scientifically proven that children's brain develops at faster pace during this tender and growing age. So hence they have more grasping power at this particular point of time. So we should start providing them foundation for learning ahead of other students so that they can stand out from others in future. Learning the same thing in adulthood, you will see that it would be 100 or 10 times more difficult or hard for us. Yeah.
And so is there any, it is suitable for all kids basically?
Yes, as I said that it is actually suitable for anybody else. But for coding giants, it is 7 to 19 years.
7 to 19.
Yeah. So we have started with 7 to 19 years because our programs have been catered, keeping in mind children right now. Yeah.
And one of the things that usually parents tell is, in school itself, they'll teach coding. Now, every school has come up with their own coding syllabus, probably. So, why do they need to come to Coding Giant?
Schools never teach apps, programming, developing the programs and app using artificial intelligence and meta language. We do provide that. So, that's the biggest difference.
And how has the response been so far in Singapore?
So far, so good. But yeah, there are few parents who are concerned about their child doing face-to-face classes more than online classes. But I would say it won't make big difference as long as your child is more adaptable and he is able to understand what we are going to teach them. Because in physical as well as in online classes, right, we would be teaching the same thing. It's just that we are not face-to-face. Yeah, so that would be the only difference over
Is
here.
coding really hard?
Actually, not really. That's why this is where we say that why to start early. For children, if they will start early, that would not be very hard. Now you see coding, if we play a game, right, in a mobile, for us, it might be a bit harder to understand first, right? But for kids, you will give them, if you will give them a phone, right, they would quickly pick that up. Yeah, and rather they would teach us. Yeah, so okay, do this and that. So for kids, it won't be that problematic and that hard for to learn coding right from the beginning.
Usually, these are weekend classes, weekdays? How does it work?
It's a weekend classes. Basically, we do provide weekends, but there are some slots for weekdays as well. Just a bit only, but we encourage parents for weekends because weekends are quite relaxing for both parents and kids, and it would be good for them, just sitting at home and no school homeworks. Of course, there will be school homeworks during weekdays, but weekends are quite a bit relaxing.
For co-curricular,
That's
extra
right.
passion and
Yeah.
stuff. If anybody in Singapore wants to reach out to explore courses, where can they? What's your website?
Yeah, they can go to our website. Plenty of information is over there. The courses we provide, what lessons we do provide, what their children are going to learn.
How different is Coding Giants from the rest of the institutions around?
Yeah, the biggest difference I would say is Microsoft. We are a global education partner of Microsoft. We do provide certificates as well with a Microsoft logo.
Wow.
Now, this is going to give credibility and reliability to the children, to their education level. Wherever they would go, wherever they would show this certificate, of course, it is going to give them some kind of credibility.
And any other partnerships that you have?
We have Ubisoft. Ubisoft is a well-known gaming giant. Whoever is in gaming world, they might have heard about Ubisoft. They have trusted Coding Giants and given their patronage over our editions.
And I've also heard that you guys have authored books.
Yes, we have authored some programming books as well for youths and children, and that has been recognized by Ministry of Education and Science.
It's wonderful. So basically, if I have to summarize Coding Giants, one, it's the right age group for your kids to explore. Starts from 7 and goes all the way till 19. Customized courses with fun way of teaching. And you guys are so credited because you have Microsoft, you have authored books which is recognized by the Ministry of Education and Science, virtual sessions that you guys have where parents can choose from beginners to all the way till whatever language that they want to showcase. and it's a one-stop shop for all coding classes.
Everything else. They can find all advanced language from basic to advanced. Everything else over here with Coding Giants.
Lovely. And the website for them to go take a look at it is codinggiants.sg.
Yes.
That's where they'll get all the information, or they
Right.
can call you, right?
Yeah, they can call if they have any kind of questions or any kind of problem or anything else. They can always feel free to call us.
Seema, it was wonderful to understand the courses and the information that you do under Coding Giants. I'm sure the viewers who are interested, who have kids in the age group of 7 to 19, will reach out to you, because I think letting kids' brain develop, their creativity, their understanding whether they like coding or not, what a better way to start, in terms of getting to understand what coding is all about. So lovely having you on the show. Thank you for coming on Salaam Namaste Singapore.
Thank you for calling me over.
That's it in this episode. I'm going to go now and come back with another very interesting episode next week. Until then, stay happy, stay safe. This is Vinay Bharadwaj, and you're watching Salaam Namaste Singapore Season 4.